Grace said she absolutely needed a car for her Christmas date with her boyfriend. And you don't have any plans for Christmas anyway, right? My mother's voice coming from the smartphone speaker sounded unbelievably calm. Christmas Day. At my home in Seattle, I could not believe my own ears. It wasn't anger anymore, but a cold sensation, as if all the blood in my body were draining away. The smartphone in my hand felt like a block of ice. It had been only about an hour earlier. I had just returned from a several-day business trip, stepping off the plane with a sense of accomplishment after successfully completing a major project. On my way home, my mind was filled with thoughts of my beloved car. I had earned a promotion just a few weeks earlier, and I bought the car to celebrate right before the business trip. After surviving late-night overtime, weekend self-study, and fierce competition with rivals, I had finally grasped the proof of my success. That alpine white BMW. 4 Series Coupe, though used, was the crystallization of my blood, sweat, and tears. I had returned home excited to see the beloved car waiting for me. However, when the garage door opened, all I found was an empty space. My treasure had vanished without a trace. With my mind on the verge of panic, I operated the security camera app with trembling fingers and checked the footage from my home. What appeared on the screen was the worst betrayal imaginable. In the video, my mother casually unlocked the door with a spare key and let my sister Grace inside. Grace grabbed the BMW key I had left on the living room table as if it were her own, and the two of them walked out of the house smiling. My family stepped into my sanctuary and took what was precious to me. There was not the slightest hint of guilt in their actions, the unbelievable sight captured by the security cameras. That spare key had been something my mother insisted on making just in case, because she was worried about my frequent long business trips. In case there's a fire or water leak, we need to be able to respond right away. I hesitated many times when she said that, but in the end, her words, "Don't you trust your family?" overpowered my doubts. That control disguised as kindness eventually bared its fangs in the worst possible way. I stopped the playback and, without a second of hesitation, tapped my mother's number on my smartphone. After a few rings, I heard her familiar voice, one so carefree that it made my hatred surge. "Julia, welcome home. Merry Christmas." "Mom, where's my car?" Even at the sound of my cold voice, my mother didn't react at all. "Oh, the car?" Perfect timing. Grace is using it right now. Using it? What do you mean? I don't recall giving her permission. "Oh, don't be so fussy. I used your spare key. You know, the one we made for emergencies?" Well, this was an emergency for Grace. They were unbelievable words. An emergency? I barely managed to ask that single question. The absurdity was so overwhelming that my thoughts couldn't keep up. Yes, an emergency. Grace said she needed it for her Christmas date. Today she's meeting her boyfriend's parents for the first time. It's an important day for her. And your BMW looks impressive, doesn't it? You're her big sister, so you should help her with something like this. Help? This is theft. I forced myself to keep my voice steady as I argued back. You entered my house without permission and took my car key. That's a crime. Do you understand that? Then my mother let out a sigh that sounded genuinely exasperated. You're so dramatic. You didn't have any special plans anyway. Besides, you're successful at that IT company and you have money. So giving your sweet little sister one car as a present shouldn't be a problem, right? We're just making good use of it for you. An unpleasant memory from years ago resurfaced in my mind. Grace had still been a college student back then. She was on her way to a party with friends, driving our father's sedan, when she crashed into a utility pole because she was using her smartphone. The car was completely wrecked and had to be scrapped. But our parents didn't scold Grace at all. "We're just so grateful you weren't hurt." They hugged her with tears in their eyes and handled all the troublesome aftermath themselves. Grace showed no sign of remorse, and by the next week she was already saying, "I wonder what my next car should be." If only our parents corrected her properly back then. If they had taught her what it means to take responsibility, maybe things wouldn't have turned out like this. Are you planning to make her repeat the same thing again? My voice carried years of anger and disappointment. Grace totaled Dad's car, and even then you coddled her and didn't make her take any responsibility. This is the result. She grew up to be someone who doesn't feel anything about stealing other people's belongings. At my accusation, my mother went silent for just a moment. A very brief moment. And during that moment, I foolishly expected that maybe there was still some trace of conscience inside her. But what came from the other end of the line was not remorse, but a shrill, hysterical voice full of self-justification. "What did you just say? How dare you? Grace is sensitive and you need to support her properly. You're her older sister." There it was again. The usual line. The fact that I was the eldest daughter had always been used as a convenient curse, something to force me to take responsibility for every one of my sister's mistakes and to give her whatever she wanted without question. But that curse had to end. Enough. I cut her off quietly but firmly. "It seems that talking with you is a waste of time, so I'll give you my final warning. Contact Grace right now and tell her to return my BMW to my garage immediately and without a single scratch. If she can't do that, I'm reporting the theft to the police. That's all." My mother started laughing. "The police? Are you serious? You're not actually planning to turn in your sweet sister to the police over one little car, are you?" "Don't be ridiculous." "I'm not joking. I'm completely serious." Yes, whatever. Goodbye." Then, with a loud clatter, the call was abruptly disconnected. She genuinely believed that I would never dare to do such a thing. Her confidence built from years of controlling and exploiting me had clouded her judgment. Still holding my smartphone tightly, I closed my eyes for a few seconds. Is this really the right thing to do? Once I crossed this line, I could never go back to being a family again. That thought flickered through my mind for just a moment, but I pushed it away almost immediately. I opened my eyes and took a deep breath. Then, without hesitation, I tapped 3 digits on the screen. 911. 911, what's your emergency? Fire, medical, or police? Police. I'd like to report a stolen vehicle. My voice was surprisingly calm, even to myself. The operator on the other end spoke in a steady, professional tone. Can you tell me the details of the vehicle? Yes, it's an Alpine white BMW. 4 Series Coupe. The license plate is... I recited the plate number, the model year, and every piece of information that could prove the car belonged to me without hesitation. I had paid for everything with the money I earned, registered it under my own name, and insured it myself. It was undeniably my car. And with every fact I stated out loud, my resolve grew even stronger. When was the last time you saw the vehicle? Before I left for a business trip a few days ago. When I returned home tonight, it was gone from my garage. Is there any possibility it was towed? No, it was in the locked garage of my house. After a brief pause, the operator asked the most crucial question. Do you have any idea who may have taken your vehicle? I had known this question was coming, but hearing the words for real made my heart tighten sharply. Once I said it, there would be no turning back. I took a short, deep breath and told the truth. Yes, I do. My sister. My mother used a spare key to enter my home and helped her take it. When the call with the operator ended, I sank deep into the sofa, still gripping my smartphone. The silence of the house felt as if it were blaming me. Was this really the right thing to do? Once I crossed this line, I could never return to the family I used to know. The weight of that decision made my whole body tremble at last. I just wanted someone, just one person, to say, "You're not wrong." Driven by that unbearable loneliness and fear, I tapped my smartphone again with trembling fingers. And I selected the name of the one person I could trust and typed a short message. I'm sorry. I don't think I can see you today. Something serious happened. Mom and Grace stole my car. I just reported it to the police. Right after I pressed the send button, a patrol car quietly stopped in front of my house, and a police officer knocked on my front door. Miss Julia, I presume. I'm Anderson with the city police. May I ask you for more details about your vehicle? I invited him into the living room and spread out all the documents I had prepared on the table. The loan contract, the insurance policy, the registration papers. And then I showed him the security camera footage on my tablet, recording every moment of Grace and my mother entering my home and taking the key. The officer examined each document carefully, then watched the footage with intense focus before nodding deeply. I see. I fully understand the situation. The vehicle is without question your personal property. Yes, but my mother insists my sister's just borrowing it, and she won't listen to me at all. He spoke cautiously, as if choosing each word with care. Julia, in most cases, we have limited ability to intervene in family disputes. If there's even a small chance that the matter could be resolved through discussion. But I cut him off, firmly and without hesitation. There isn't. They refused all discussion. This is theft. I'm requesting action according to the law." Then he looked straight into my eyes and said clearly and decisively, "I understand. Indeed, even if they are blood relatives, taking a car without the owner's permission is theft, especially with this clearly documented ownership. This falls under grand theft auto, which is a serious criminal offense. You're absolutely not overreacting. You are the victim of a crime." Those words had the power to sweep away the guilt and self-doubt that had clouded my mind for years. I wasn't wrong. "I will immediately register your BMW as a stolen vehicle in the national network. Here is your case number." He handed me a small slip of paper. The cold, printed characters on it looked like a declaration of my liberation. After I watched the patrol car's taillights disappear into the night, the house fell completely silent. What would happen then? I had an idea, but reality exceeded anything I could have imagined. The first call came from my father. He must have heard a one-sided and no doubt heavily embellished version of events from my mother. His voice through the phone was strangely calm, the kind of calm that comes from someone desperately trying to suppress anger. "Julia, it's your father. Your mother is saying something strange. Is it true that you're threatening her by saying you'll call the police?" In his voice was still a tone that seemed to test me, a subtle condescension, as if he were certain that I couldn't possibly be serious. "Joking." My voice rang out coldly. "It's not a threat, it's a fact. What did you say?" "I've already reported it and filed an official police report. My car is now registered as a stolen vehicle in the nationwide law enforcement network. The moment the license plate is scanned, the person driving it, no matter who it is, will be arrested on the spot. That's the reality, Dad." I heard my father gasp on the other end of the line. He must have finally understood the situation. In the next moment, his voice shifted from doubt to pure anger. "Julia, you actually did that? You would turn your own sister into a criminal? It's Christmas. Do you really intend to destroy this family on this day?" His shouting stirred absolutely no emotion in me. Which one of us is destroying the family? The one whose daughter's property was stolen and then justified by you? Or me? "Grace is your sister. She just wanted to look good for once. And now that you're successful, you're going to cast aside your less fortunate sister? How cold-hearted can you be?" I was speechless. So in his logic, it was acceptable for a younger sister to steal her older sister's car just to show off. A successful daughter must hand over everything to the daughter who isn't successful. That was my father's reasoning. No one cared how much effort and sacrifice went into earning my BMW. No one cared about the pain of spending Christmas completely alone because of this. The only thing on their minds was their beloved younger daughter, Grace. There's nothing more to say. I said that and ended the call before he could finish yelling. And immediately afterward, my smartphone began to vibrate violently. A flood of messages from my mother. "How ungrateful you are. We did not raise you to be such a cold-blooded person. You ruined our Christmas. If anything happens to Grace, I will never forgive you." One hateful message after another filled the screen. I placed the phone face down on the table, silencing the endless notifications, and closed my eyes. I was alone. However, I told myself that this loneliness was the price I had to pay to regain my dignity. My smartphone rang again. The display showed a blocked number. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but something made my chest tighten, and I hesitantly pressed the call button. "Hello? Julia, this is Anderson with the city police. Do you have a moment?" It was an unexpected call from the officer earlier. His voice carried a tone that was different from before, somewhere between confusion and discomfort. "Yes, I'm available." "Has something happened?" "Yes, well, you could say that. A short while ago, your parents called the station." I inhaled sharply. I hadn't expected them to call the police directly. Their audacity was astonishing at this point. They insisted that there was some kind of mistake, or that you were emotionally unstable and filed the report in confusion. They are claiming this is a family matter and are requesting that we not treat it as a criminal case. To be honest, they were quite agitated and were having difficulty handling the situation. He then lowered his voice slightly, as if blocking out background noise. "Julia, I'll be direct. Since we have already accepted your formal complaint, we cannot halt the investigation. However, your parents are adamantly insisting that you have agreed to speak with us and withdraw the charges. So we need to confirm your final intention. Has anything changed regarding your decision to press charges against your sister?" His voice sounded as though he was testing my resolve. If I wavered even slightly, everything would be dismissed as nothing more than a family argument. I answered clearly. My intention has not changed at all. I will not forgive my sister who stole my car, nor my parents who helped her. Officer, please continue the investigation in accordance with the law. Understood. I confirm that your intention is firm. Thank you. I will contact you again as soon as we have further developments. After ending the call with him, I stared at the phone screen as it faded to black. No matter how much my parents protested, my decision would not waver anymore. I don't know how much time passed after that. Around 6 p.m., my phone vibrated again. The display showed Officer Anderson's name. I braced myself, took one deep breath, and answered. This is Julia. This is Anderson. Sorry to bother you again. I'm calling because the matter we discussed earlier has been resolved. His voice had returned to the strict tone of a police officer, completely different from earlier. We have taken your sister Grace into custody in the parking lot of the upscale restaurant The Piermont, in the Lakeview district. It was one of the most famous restaurants in Seattle, known for being nearly impossible to get a reservation. From its windows, you can see the night view of Lake Union, and it is often chosen for anniversaries or proposals. Of course, there was no better stage for Grace to show off. While on patrol, an officer ran the license plate of your BMW and discovered it had been reported stolen. When the officer arrived at the restaurant parking lot, Grace had just stepped out of the car and was being escorted by her boyfriend and his family. Officer Anderson's calm explanation painted a vivid picture in my mind. Grace all dressed up, Ryan beside her, looking slightly nervous, his parents smiling warmly, and then, without mercy, the flashing blue and red lights of the patrol car illuminating them. When the officer questioned her, Grace initially claimed, "It's my sister's car, and I just borrowed it for Christmas." But when she was informed that a theft report had been filed, she became extremely agitated and eventually started shouting incoherent things, such as, "I thought it was a surprise gift from my sister." That's what we were told. I could see it clearly. My sister spiraling into panic, trying to cover one lie with another until everything collapsed. There must have been other customers and restaurant staff watching. Under their curious and judgmental eyes, Grace's pride must have shattered into pieces. Her boyfriend Ryan and his family were deeply shocked. After briefly hearing their side of the story, we arrested Grace on the spot for car theft and transported her to the nearest precinct. I see. That was all I could manage to say. Your vehicle is currently being transported to the police storage facility as evidence. Once the procedures are complete, we can return it to you, but please understand it may take some time. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Officer Anderson. After ending the call, I sank onto the sofa again as if my legs had lost all strength. It was over. All of it was over. And yet, there was not a shred of triumph in my heart. Only an overwhelming emptiness and a deep spreading sorrow. About an hour passed after receiving the news of Grace's arrest. My smartphone was silent, the eerie quiet that comes after a storm has passed. Our parents were probably busy at the police station trying to arrange their daughter's bail, or perhaps frantically searching for a lawyer. Either way, it wasn't hard to imagine that they were blaming me entirely for this situation. What broke the silence then was not the ringtone of my smartphone, but a knock at the front door. A gentle yet clearly audible knock. Had the police come again? Feeling uneasy, I cautiously looked through the peephole. Standing there was someone I never expected. My partner, Noah. In his hands were a warm cup of coffee and a bag of pastries. The moment I saw his worried yet gentle smile, the tension I had been holding inside for so long snapped apart like a broken thread. As soon as I opened the door, tears streamed from my eyes, far more than I could possibly hold back. I'm sorry, on a night like Christmas, I'm the one who should apologize. I should have come sooner. I wanted to come the moment I saw your message, but work kept me tied up. I'm sorry I got here so late. Without another word, he gently pulled me into his arms and slowly rubbed my back. Noah stayed beside me silently until I was able to speak. Then, as I began to recount everything, bit by bit, piece by piece, he listened without interrupting even once, his eyes fixed on me with complete sincerity. When I finally finished, he took my hand and held it firmly. Julia, you didn't do anything wrong. Not a single thing. To protect your dignity, you made an incredibly painful decision, all on your own. I'm truly proud of you. His words sank deeper into my heart than any comfort could. I had thought I was fighting this battle alone, but there was someone who believed in my choices and stood by my side. That truth slowly began to thaw the ice that had formed around my heart. I ruined Christmas, didn't I? I said through tears, and he smiled softly. What are you talking about? Christmas is only just beginning. Come on, my family is waiting to see you. At Noah's words, I hesitated for a moment. But I'm not in any state to smile right now. Sensing my conflict, Noah gently wrapped an arm around my shoulders. You don't need to force yourself to smile. I just want you to know something. Family isn't only what you've experienced, one-sided exploitation or control. There are families that are warm, safe, and truly comforting. My family will show you that. Looking into his sincere eyes, I nodded slightly. Encouraged by Noah's words, I headed with him to his family's home. Julia, I'm so glad you came. Noah's mother hugged me tightly, as if I were her own daughter. It must have been so hard for you. But you're safe now. Tonight, let's spend Christmas together with our family. Neither he nor his family asked intrusive questions about what happened the night before. Instead, they welcomed me into their warm circle as naturally as if saying, "Welcome home." In a room where the fireplace crackled softly, we listened to gentle Christmas carols and shared a heartfelt meal. It was a kind of warmth, a kind of family that I had never known. A few days after Christmas, I received a call from my aunt, my father's sister. Grace had broken up with Ryan, whom she had been considering marriage with. Then a lawyer informed my parents that she was highly likely to receive a criminal sentence, and only then did my parents finally grasp the seriousness of what had happened. A few days later, with my aunt's help, I met my worn-out parents at a cafe in the suburbs. My father said, "We were wrong about everything," and my mother broke down crying as she said, "I'm so sorry for hurting you." It was the first time in my life I had ever heard a sincere apology from them, but their words no longer reached my heart. I accept your apology, but forgiveness is another matter. My intention to testify to all the facts at Grace's trial has not changed. At my resolute stance, they had nothing left to say. Later, Grace was found guilty in court and sentenced to probation and long-term community service. Naturally, the incident spread through their small community in an instant. My father lost his job after being held responsible for damaging the company's trust. My mother, unable to bear the strained relationships with neighbors, sold their house with my father, and the two moved into a small apartment in a distant town. Grace's criminal record destroyed the foundation of her prideful life plan. On top of that, their savings were drained by legal fees and bail, leaving the family in financial hardship. Even after hearing all of this, my heart remained strangely calm, because everything that happened to them was nothing more than the consequences they had brought upon themselves. I lost the future in which I would spend Christmas with my biological family. But in exchange, I gained Noah and his family, people who valued me deeply and welcomed me with genuine warmth.